Hey guys, welcome to the LPAC preparation video on listening. All right, so remember, listening is one of the four aspects of the LPAC: listening, reading, writing, speaking. So those are the four things we're working on in this class. All right, so this video is all about the listening portion. The listening portion is going to be about 10 to 15 of the questions on the LPAC. So it's about 25%. It's a big chunk. Now, here are some of the tricks that you need to know when it comes to being ready for the listening portion. All right, so what's going to happen is you're going to be hearing a conversation. You won't be reading along with it. They won't have a text for you to read. We're just going to play audio. And you might hear two people talking. You might just hear one person talking. And you're going to have to listen. So the hardest part for you guys is going to be staying focused. Some of these, the audio that you'll be listening to will be a little long. And you're going to have to stay focused throughout the whole time. Then you're going to have to answer questions about what you just heard. And for some of them, you won't be able to listen to it again. So you only get one shot to listen and then answer some questions. Now, the questions aren't designed to trick you. All right, they're simple questions about the meaning of what the two people were talking about or what the main point was. And when the people talk, they do so kind of in a casual manner. Something that you would hear a teacher and a student talk like. So the test is not designed to trick you, but it is going to be something that you're going to have to focus on. So I recommend that you guys, as you're listening to the speakers talk, imagine what you're seeing. Play a little movie in your head as you're listening to either the two people talking to each other or the one person speaking. And imagine what it would look like as they're having this conversation. That will help you remember what their conversation is about and then help you answer those questions. It's not about memorizing what's going on. If you stress out and try to memorize everything they're talking about, your brain will freeze. All right, so just enjoy the conversation, act like you're watching a movie, and make sure you're listening and focusing. All right, so we're going to go into the first practice right now. I'm going to be reading the voices. The first one is a boy and a girl talking. I'm going to change my voice, laugh all you want, but the point is that there's two different people talking. All right, so let's get to it. Listening practice 1. Listen to a conversation between a boy and a girl. Listen carefully. You will hear the conversation only once. After listening, you will answer a question. I love how we can mix paint together to make new colors. But when we mix red and blue paint, it's supposed to turn purple. You're right, but this still looks blue. We need to add more red paint to the bowl. All right, so how'd you guys do? All right, you had three options to choose from. The question was, why are the girl and boy going to add more paint to the bowl? A was because they want the paint to change color. That was the correct answer. All right, remember they were talking about changing the color of the paint. B, because they do not have enough paint for their pictures, they didn't mention the word picture at all. And C, because they are following their teacher's directions, there was no teacher either. All right, so hopefully that was easy for you guys. Hopefully you were able to stay focused. That was a short one. The next one is a little bit longer. Listen to a conversation between a boy and a girl. Listen carefully. You will hear the conversation only once. After listening, you will answer some questions. Wow, the school book fair has so many tables. When I carried books inside this morning, the tables weren't here yet. I know. Could you give me a hand putting the snacks out? Sure. There's space on the table near the door. Let's put the snacks there. Good idea. So, what kind of books are you going to look for? I like stories about nature. You know, books that talk about different plants and animals. What about you? I recently started reading adventure books, but I'm not sure they'll have any. When we finish working, let's ask Mrs. McBride about the books we'll have here today. She's the teacher in charge. right? So for that one, you had to answer 3 different questions. Let's take a look at the first one. The first one said, what are the students doing? A, cleaning tables, B, setting up for a school event, or C, studying in the school library. Now this one could be tricky because they talked about tables and they talked about books, but the correct answer was B, setting up a school event. They're talking about the book fair that's going on. So even though they were moving tables and there were going to be books, they weren't cleaning tables and they weren't studying in the school library. So setting up a school event. If you really pictured what was going on, played a movie in your head, that will help you a lot with questions like this. So the next question was, what kind of books does the boy like? A, books about nature, B, books about outer space, and C, books about adventure. So the tricky thing here could be that both books about nature and books about adventure were mentioned, but the girl liked books about adventure. So the correct answer was A, the boy liked books about nature. And for question 4, or the next question, it said, what will the students probably do next? This takes a little bit of paying attention there at the end. It says, will they A, eat some snacks, B, read books, or C, talk to a teacher? The correct answer was talk to a teacher because they mentioned that, hey, let's go ask Mrs. McBride about what kind of books they're going to have. And then it ended. So we figured that they're going to talk to a teacher next. So this next one is a little lengthy. So the challenge for you is going to be caring long enough to get to the end. All right. You're going to want to stare off into space. You're going to want to see what your neighbor's doing. But I'm going to challenge you guys to stay focused and listen. Remember, play a movie in your head. Picture what's going on. If you hear words you don't understand, just forget about them and then try to build a world of what you do understand. All right? So here it goes. Listen to a teacher talking to his students about apples. Listen carefully. You will hear the information only once. After listening, you will answer some questions. As you listen, you may use the blank areas in your test book to take notes. Have you ever noticed when you're eating an apple that the inside part that's usually white when you first bite into it starts to turn brown after a while? Why does the inside of an apple start to turn brown? Well, it's because of what apples have inside of them. Apples have a lot of iron in them. Iron is a metal, and it's also a mineral that's important for our health. It's the iron in the apple that makes it turn brown. When you bite into the apple, oxygen in the air touches the iron in the apple. When this happens, the apple starts to turn brown. Some people call this rusting. You know, just like the rust you might see on old bicycles or old metal tools. These things get rusty for the same reason. Oxygen in the air touches the iron in the metal. Now, for an apple, the skin protects the inside from touching the air. But once you take a bite and break the skin, the iron and oxygen begin to react with each other. Now, if you don't want to eat brown apples, there are some things you can do to slow down the process. After you cut the apple, you can squeeze lemon juice onto it or dip it in a glass of orange juice. Some fruits, such as lemons and oranges, contain citric acid, and citric acid will slow down the browning. You can just put the sliced apple in the refrigerator. Cool temperatures also slow down the process. So, how did you do with that one? Hopefully you got at least 3 of the 4 right. All right, it was a long piece to listen to. Let's go over the 4 questions. So the first one, what is the teacher mainly discussing? A, how to cut an apple, B, the difference between iron and other minerals, or C, why apples change color. So the answer was C. The whole time they were talking about why an apple turns brown. It talked about iron and talked about cutting an apple, but the main point of that speech was why apples change colors. So the second question, what does the teacher say that apples have inside of them? That was just, either remembering it or writing it down. It's iron is the correct answer. It talked about oxygen and it talked about citric acid. But remember, it's more than just recognizing a word they said. You really need to show that you understand what was said. For the next question, why is the skin of the apple important? It keeps the air inside the apple. It protects the apple, it protects the inside of the apple from air. It holds all of the apple's iron. So this one might have been more difficult for some. It really takes some understanding, but the correct answer was B. It protects the inside of the apple from air. Because remember, it said air touching the apple is what turns it into, makes it start to brown. So as mentioned, the skin is what protects it, which is why when you first bite into an apple, it's still white. But now the air is touching it and it's going to start to turn brown. So the very last one. What does the teacher say about old tools? A, oxygen and iron together make them rusty. B, citric acid makes them rusty. Or C, they start getting rusty on the inside first. So hopefully you didn't pick C. Tools getting rusty on the inside was never even mentioned. B is not the right answer either because it says citric acid stops or slows rusting. So the answer is A, is that oxygen and iron together make them rusty. So guys, I know this is not the most exciting of things. You may even call it boring. However, this is extremely important to show that you can listen and you can understand what's going on, both in normal conversations and in slightly academic conversations, like the one with the apple and the teacher. So the key to getting the listening questions right is the ability to stay focused for a long time. All right. So work on that. Hopefully we're focused today, and we'll work on more listening next time.